The Crimson Leviathan, Galaxy's most terrifying war monster. Commander Eric Russell stared at the main screen of the USS Harbinger. The stars seemed different here in the Cygnus Nebula, brighter, more alive. After 20 years in space, he thought nothing could surprise him anymore. He was wrong. "Commander, I'm picking up something strange," said Natalie Wright, the ship's science officer. Her fingers moved quickly across her screen. Energy readings unlike anything in our database. Eric walked over to her station. "Natural phenomenon? I don't think so." Natalie looked up, her face pale in the blue light of her screen. "It's moving, and it's big, really big." Lieutenant Peter Collins joined them, his usual smile gone. "How big are we talking about?" "Initial readings suggest around 20 kilometers in length," Natalie said quietly. Eric felt a chill run down his spine. 20 kilometers? That's impossible. Nothing living can be that size. "I never said it was alive," Natalie replied, "but the readings, they're somewhere between mechanical and biological. I can't explain it." The bridge fell silent. The USS Harbinger was an exploration vessel, the pride of Earth's fleet, but it was tiny compared to whatever waited for them in the darkness ahead. "Put it on screen," Eric ordered. The main display changed to show a patch of seemingly empty space. Then Natalie adjusted the sensors and they all saw it. A massive shape, darker than the space around it. It didn't reflect light. It seemed to swallow it. The only reason they could see its outline was a faint crimson glow that pulsed along what might have been its skin. "It looks like some kind of sea creature," Peter whispered, "like the ancient drawings of sea monsters on old Earth maps." Eric nodded slowly. The thing did resemble the Leviathans from old stories, but vastly larger and with a metallic sheen that no natural creature should have. "Sir," Communications Officer Olivia Martinez called from her station, "I'm detecting signals coming from that thing. Not radio waves or any communication method we know. It's like it's scanning us." Eric's instincts screamed danger. "Turn us around now." "But Commander," Peter protested, "this could be first contact with an entirely new life form. We should try to communicate with it." "I agree with Peter," Natalie said. "This could be the discovery of the century. We need to collect more data." Eric hesitated. His 30 years of space exploration had taught him caution, but discoveries like this were why they had ventured so far from Earth. This was their mission, to find the unknown. "Fine. Take us closer, but keep the engines ready for a quick jump. And Olivia, send everything we're seeing back to Earth." The Harbinger moved forward slowly. As they approached, the sensors gave them a better view of the massive entity. Its surface wasn't smooth, but covered with what looked like enormous plates that shifted and moved like muscles under skin. The crimson glow between these plates grew brighter. "Energy levels are rising," Natalie reported, her voice tense. "Whatever it is, our approach is causing some kind of reaction." Suddenly, the ship's sensors detected movement nearby. A small moon orbiting a gas giant in the system was changing position. No, not changing position. It was being pulled toward the crimson entity. "That's impossible," Peter whispered as they watched. The gravitational force needed to move a moon like that. They watched in stunned silence as the moon, a rock over 300 kilometers in diameter, was drawn toward the creature. When it touched the dark surface, it didn't bounce off or crash, it simply disappeared. The creature's crimson glow brightened significantly. "It ate the moon," Olivia said, her voice breaking. "All that mass converted to energy," Natalie added, checking her readings. "The power output now is off the charts." Eric didn't wait any longer. "Turn us around. Maximum speed. Now." But it was too late. The creature had noticed them. A part of its massive body began to move, extending toward them like a giant tentacle made of the same dark material. "Evasive maneuvers!" Eric shouted. The Harbinger's engines roared to life, pushing the ship into a sharp turn. For a moment, it seemed they might escape. Then the sensors blared warnings. The creature was somehow pulling them back like a powerful magnet. "It's generating some kind of gravity well," Natalie explained, frantically working at her station. "We can't break free." Eric looked at his crew, good people who had trusted him to keep them safe. Olivia, send one final message to Earth. Tell them everything we saw. Make sure they understand what this thing can do. Olivia nodded, tears in her eyes as she composed the message. Her fingers flew across her console. Adding all our sensor data. Sending now. The tentacle-like extension grew closer, its crimson glow illuminating the bridge in an eerie red light. Message sent, Olivia confirmed. Then she added something to the transmission on her own. It's not just a biological entity, it's a weapon. Someone made this thing. Eric looked at her in surprise. How do you know that? The patterns in its energy field, she explained quickly. They're too regular, too precise to be natural. This thing was engineered. The ship shuddered as the creature's extension made contact with their hull. Metal groaned and warning lights flashed across every console. Hull breach in sections 4 through 7, Peter reported, his voice steady, despite the fear in his eyes. It's coming through the ship. Eric stood up straight. If this was the end, he would face it on his feet. It's been an honor serving with all of you. The bridge doors melted open, revealing a flowing mass of dark material with crimson energy pulsing through it. It moved like something alive but precise like a machine. Where it touched equipment, the metal and plastic simply disappeared, absorbed into the mass. As the creature entered the bridge, Eric had one final thought. Humanity needed to know what they were facing. This wasn't just a discovery, it was a warning. Something ancient and terrible had awakened, and it was hungry. The last thing any of them saw was the crimson glow enveloping the bridge, and then the USS Harbinger, along with its brave crew, became part of the entity that would soon be known across the galaxy as the Crimson Leviathan. Far away, on Earth, a transmission arrived. Scientists and military leaders gathered to view the final moments of the USS Harbinger and its encounter with something that defied explanation. As they watched in horror, they realized that the age of peaceful exploration was over. War had come, to humanity, brought by a monster of incomprehensible power. 5 years had passed since the USS Harbinger vanished. The last transmission from the ship had been studied thousands of times by the best minds on Earth. Dr. Alan Fisher was one of those minds. He sat in his lab at the Earth Defense Coalition headquarters, surrounded by screens showing the final moments of the Harbinger and its encounter with the enormous entity now known as the Crimson Leviathan. Alan rubbed his tired eyes. He had been working for days without proper sleep. The data from the Harbinger had become his life's work, and finally, he believed he understood what they were facing. It's a weapon, he said to the empty room. A living weapon created by someone a very long time ago. The door to his lab opened and Admiral Laura Bennett walked in. Her uniform was crisp, but the dark circles under her eyes showed she was just as tired as Alan. Tell me you have good news, Doctor, she said. Alan shook his head. Not good news, but I have answers. He pointed to one of the screens showing the creature consuming a moon. This thing was engineered. The way it converts matter to energy breaks several laws of physics as we understand them. Some ancient civilization built this as the ultimate weapon. To use against whom? Laura asked. That's the problem. I don't think its creators are around anymore. This thing has probably been dormant for thousands, maybe millions of years. And now it's awake and hungry. Laura was about to respond when her communication device beeped. She looked at it, and her face went pale. Nova Terra just went dark, she said. All communication with the colony has stopped. Alan felt his stomach sink. Nova Terra was a mining colony with 3 million people. The Leviathan? We don't know yet, but... She didn't finish her sentence. They both knew. Across the room, one of Alan's assistants burst in. Dr. Fisher, Admiral, you need to see this. A defense satellite near Nova Terra captured footage before it was destroyed. They gathered around a screen as the footage began to play. At first, it showed Nova Terra, a beautiful blue-green planet, dotted with the lights of human settlements. Then a shadow moved across the planet. The camera panned to show the source. The Crimson Leviathan had grown. It was now at least 50 kilometers long, its dark body blocking out the stars behind. Red energy pulsed through what looked like veins across its surface. Tendrils of the same energy stretched out from its body, reaching toward the planet. "It's evolved," Alan whispered. "It's learned how to feed from a distance." They watched, in horror, as the tendrils touched the planet's surface. The effect was immediate. The areas where the tendrils made contact simply vanished, leaving perfect hemispheres of empty space. More tendrils reached out, and more of the planet disappeared. Within minutes, Nova Terra was gone. Where the planet had been, there was now just empty space and a slightly larger, brighter crimson Leviathan. 3 million people, Laura said, her voice breaking. Gone in minutes. Defense Specialist William Garcia entered the room next, carrying a tablet. "Admiral, I've analyzed the Leviathan's movement since it destroyed the Harbinger. It's not random." He placed the tablet on the table, showing a map of human-settled space with a red line cutting through it. "It's heading directly for our most populated colonies and ultimately toward Earth." "How long do we have?" Laura asked. William looked grim. "At its current speed, about 6 months before it reaches Earth. But it will hit 4 more colonies before then." Laura straightened her back. "We need to evacuate those colonies immediately and gather every ship we have." "It won't be enough," Alan said quietly. "You saw what it did to Nova Terra. Our weapons won't even scratch it." "Then what do you suggest, Doctor?" Laura asked, an edge to her voice. "We need allies, even the Centauri and the Rigelians. This thing threatens all life in the galaxy, not just humans." Laura nodded slowly. "I'll speak to the Council. Meanwhile, I want you to find a weakness. Everything has one." 2 weeks later, Captain Jason Moore sat in the command chair of the USS Nightshade, the most advanced stealth ship in the fleet. His mission was simple but dangerous: get close enough to the Crimson Leviathan to collect detailed scans without being detected. "How close are we, Lieutenant?" he asked. Lieutenant Diane Cooper checked her instruments. 5,000 kilometers and holding, sir. We're outside its known detection range." "Start the scans. Get everything you can." Diane nodded and activated the ship's advanced sensors. Data began flowing in immediately. "Sir, these readings, they're incredible. The creature isn't just one entity, it's like an ecosystem. There are thousands of smaller systems working together inside it." Jason moved to her station to look at the readings. "Machine parts?" "Yes, but integrated with biological components. The technology is like nothing we've ever seen. And sir, it's changing, evolving. I can see new structures forming as we watch." "What's it doing now?" Jason asked. "It's approaching the asteroid belt of the Proxima Centauri system. Watch." On the screen, they saw the massive creature extend dozens of energy tendrils toward the asteroids. Each rock it touched disappeared, converted to energy and absorbed. "It's feeding," Diane said, "building up energy for something." Suddenly, their ship's alarms blared. "It's detected us," Diane shouted. "Energy surge heading our way." "Emergency. Jump," Jason ordered. "Now!" The USS Nightshade's engines fired, pushing the ship into faster-than-light speed, just as a massive energy tendril passed through the space they had occupied seconds before. Back on Earth, Dr. Fisher made a discovery. In ancient ruins found on several planets, he identified warning symbols about the Crimson Leviathan. The translations were difficult, but the message was clear. The creature had been created as a last resort, weapon in a war that ended over 1 million years ago. It was designed to go dormant after completing its mission, he explained to Admiral Bennett. But its creators were wiped out before they could send the shutdown signal. It's been drifting through space ever since, occasionally waking when it detects energy similar to what it was programmed to target. "And our energy signatures woke it up," Laura said. "Yes, the fusion technology we use is similar to what its original targets used. To the Leviathan, we look like the enemy it was built to destroy." The first major defense was set up at Proxima Centauri, Earth's closest neighboring star system. A massive energy shield designed to block the creature covered one side of the colony planet. For 3 days, the shield held as the Leviathan probed for weaknesses. Everyone watched hopefully. Maybe they could stop it after all. On the 4th day, the creature simply went around the shield and attacked the planet from the other side. Within hours, Proxima Centauri and its 4 million inhabitants were gone. As the reports came in, Laura Bennett faced the grim reality. "It's not just powerful," she told the Emergency Council. "It's intelligent, and it's learning from each encounter." The clock was ticking. 4 months until the Crimson Leviathan reached Earth. Representatives from every human colony and even alien civilizations gathered in the Great Hall of the Earth Defense Coalition. Old enemies sat side by side, their past conflicts forgotten in the face of the Crimson Leviathan's threat. The Centauri. Confederacy, the Rigelian hegemony, and a dozen other species had answered humanity's call for help. Admiral Laura Bennett stood at the center of the room, her face grim as she addressed the gathered leaders. "The Leviathan has destroyed 12 human colonies, over 30 million lives lost. Our weapons do nothing against it. Our shields cannot stop it. It learns from every encounter and grows stronger with every world it consumes." A Centauri representative stood up. "Why should we help? This creature seems to be targeting humans specifically." "For now," Laura replied. "But what happens when it finishes with us? Do you think it will simply go back to sleep? It's growing more intelligent with each feeding. It may decide that your fusion technology looks just as tasty as ours." The room fell silent as the truth of her words sank in. Dr. Alan Fisher stepped forward next, displaying images of the ancient warnings he had discovered. According to these records, the Leviathan was created to end a war that raged across this part of the galaxy 1,000,000 years ago. It did its job too well. It destroyed not only the enemy, but eventually the civilization that created it. A Rigelian scientist raised a clawed hand. "If it was programmed to shut down after completing its mission, why is it still active?" "Its creators were wiped out before they could send the shutdown signal," Alan explained. "It's been drifting through space ever since, occasionally waking when it detects energy similar to its original targets. And our technology woke it up," Laura added. "Now we need to find a way to put it back to sleep, or destroy it." The coalition formed that day. Ships from a dozen different species gathered in Earth's orbit, preparing for the greatest battle the galaxy had ever seen. Scientists from various worlds worked together, sharing technologies and ideas that had been jealously guarded secrets only weeks before. Captain Jason Moore of the USS Nightshade led a joint human-Centauri team on another observation mission. Their ships were equipped with the best stealth technology from both civilizations. "Approaching optimal scanning range," Jason informed his crew and their Centauri allies. All ships maintain radio silence. They watched as the Leviathan moved through an empty system, having already consumed the small planet that once orbited the star. It had grown again, now nearly 100 kilometers long. Its dark body pulsed with crimson energy, tendrils extending and retracting as if testing the space around it. Science officer Diane Cooper worked with her Centauri counterpart, analyzing the new data. "Captain, you need to see this," she called, her voice tense with excitement. Jason moved to her station. "What have you found?" "Look at these energy patterns inside the creature." Diane pointed to a series of readings. "They're changing. The machine parts are merging more deeply with the biological components. And here," she indicated another section, "it's developing new structures we haven't seen before." The Centauri scientist Vexala nodded in agreement. "It's adapting to use the technologies it has consumed from our colonies. I can see patterns similar to our shield generators forming within its body." "It's not just consuming," Jason realized. "It's learning, evolving." As they watched, the Leviathan suddenly changed direction, moving toward a nearby asteroid field. Its tendrils reached out, pulling in rocks of various sizes, but instead of simply absorbing them, it began to shape them, forming a kind of shell around parts of its body. "It's creating armor," Vexala said, her voice filled with awe and horror. "It's protecting itself." But from what? Jason wondered. Nothing we've thrown at it has even scratched its surface. They got their answer moments later when a fleet of unknown ships appeared at the edge of the system. The vessels were angular and dark, clearly designed for war. Without warning, they opened fire on the Leviathan, their weapons more advanced than anything the Coalition possessed. "Who are they?" Diane asked. Vixala studied the ships. They matched no known design in Centauri records. The unknown fleet's weapons actually seemed to hurt the Leviathan. Where their energy beams struck, the creature's surface blackened and cracked. It responded with fury, its tendrils lashing out to grab the attacking ships. Each vessel it caught was quickly absorbed, adding to the creature's mass and energy. "It's defending itself," Jason observed, "and getting stronger with each ship it consumes." The battle was over in minutes. The unknown fleet was destroyed, and the Leviathan seemed to grow brighter, its crimson glow intensifying. Then it changed course again, heading directly toward Coalition space. "It's moving faster now," Diane reported, "and its energy output has increased by at least 200%. Jason opened a channel to Earth. "Admiral Bennett, we have a situation. The Leviathan just encountered an unknown hostile fleet and destroyed it completely. It's absorbed their technology and is now heading toward Earth at increased speed. Estimated arrival time: 3 weeks, not 2 months as previously calculated." Back on Earth, the Coalition leaders received the news with dismay. Their time was running out much faster than expected. Engineer Kevin Foster had been working with a team of human and alien scientists studying the Leviathan's patterns. As others panicked at the news of its accelerated approach, he noticed something in the data from the USS Nightshade. "Look at this," he told Dr. Fisher, pointing to a section of the readings. "When those unknown ships attacked, their weapons actually damaged the Leviathan. The energy signature is unusual, similar to radiation from certain neutron stars." Alan studied the readings. "You're right. The biological components of the creature seem vulnerable to this specific type of radiation." Kevin nodded excitedly. "And I've noticed something else. In all its travels, the Leviathan has avoided systems with neutron stars of a particular type. It's avoiding this radiation naturally." For the first time in months, hope flickered in Alan's eyes. "It has a weakness," he whispered. "We need to tell Admiral Bennett immediately." As the Coalition forces prepared for what might be their final stand, a plan began to take shape. They couldn't destroy the Leviathan, but perhaps they could drive it away or force it back into dormancy. The fate of Earth, and perhaps all intelligent life in the galaxy, now hinged on a desperate gamble based on the creature's one possible vulnerability. The countdown to the Leviathan's arrival continued, and with each passing day the massive creature grew closer, its crimson glow now visible as a new star in Earth's night sky. The final battle was approaching, and no one knew if the galaxy would survive the coming of the Crimson Leviathan. 2 weeks remained before the Crimson Leviathan would reach Earth. The massive creature's glow was now visible in the night sky, a new red star that grew brighter each day. People looked up in fear, knowing what had happened to the 12 colony, worlds that came before them. In the main laboratory of the Earth Defense Coalition, engineer Kevin Foster worked without rest. Around him, scientists from Earth and 6 alien species checked calculations and built equipment. Their plan was taking shape, but time was running out. "The radiation emitters are nearly ready," Kevin told Admiral Laura Bennett when she visited the lab. "We've built 500 of them based on the readings from those unknown ships that damaged the Leviathan." Laura looked at the devices. They were small, about the size of a car, each containing technology from multiple species. "Will 500 be enough?" "We don't know," Kevin admitted. "Nothing like this has ever been attempted before. But our simulations show that if we can surround the creature with enough of these emitters, the radiation should penetrate its outer layers and affect the biological components inside." "And then what happens?" Laura asked. Dr. Alan Fisher answered, from across the room. "If we're lucky, the radiation will trigger its dormancy protocols. The ancient records suggest it was programmed to enter a sleep state when damaged beyond a certain point. And if we're not lucky? Alan and Kevin exchanged glances. Then we've made it angry, Kevin said quietly. Laura nodded grimly. The Coalition fleet will deploy the emitters in the Epsilon Eridani system. It's uninhabited now since we evacuated it last month. We'll try to lure the Leviathan there instead of letting it reach Earth. How will you lure it? Alan asked. We've modified the USS Valiant to emit the same energy signature that seems to attract the creature. It's following our fusion technology. We'll give it what it wants, but on our terms. The plan was set. The Coalition's largest ships carried the radiation emitters to the Epsilon Eridani system, hiding them among the asteroid belt. Meanwhile, the USS Valiant, commanded by Captain Sandra Mitchell, prepared for its dangerous mission. Sandra gathered her crew on the bridge. I won't lie to you, she said, looking at each of them in turn. This is likely a one-way trip. The Valiant will emit an energy signature that will attract the Leviathan directly to us. Our job is to lead it into the trap and keep it there long enough for the radiation to take effect. Her crew was silent, understanding the sacrifice they might need to make. If we fail, Sandra continued, there won't be an Earth to return to anyway. This is our best chance to save not just our world, but all worlds. Lieutenant Greg Ward, her second in command, stepped forward. We're with you, Captain. All of Us. The USS Valiant departed Earth the next day, its engines modified to produce the specific energy signature that the Leviathan found irresistible. The ship headed for the Epsilon Eridani system, where the trap waited. 2 days later, the sensors on Earth detected a change. The Leviathan had altered its course. Instead of heading directly for Earth, it was now moving toward Epsilon Eridani. It's working, Laura told the Coalition Council. The Valiant has its attention. In the Epsilon Eridani system, Sandra Mitchell watched as her ship's sensors showed the approaching monster. The Leviathan had grown even larger since the last sighting, now nearly 200 kilometers long. Its dark body blotted out the stars, the crimson energy pulsing through it like blood through veins. All crew to battle stations, Sandra ordered, though she knew their weapons would do nothing against the creature. Maintain position at the center of the asteroid belt. That's where the emitters are most concentrated. The minutes ticked by slowly as the massive entity approached. On the bridge, the crew watched in silence. Many had lost family or friends on the colonies the Leviathan had destroyed. This was their chance for justice. It's entering the outer edge of the asteroid belt, Greg reported. Radiation emitters are powering up now. Across the asteroid belt, 500 devices activated simultaneously, each generating the specific radiation that had damaged the Leviathan in its battle with the unknown fleet. The energy filled the space around the creature, invisible but powerful. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the Leviathan's movement slowed. Its crimson glow flickered, dimming slightly. It's working, Greg exclaimed. Sandra leaned forward in her chair. Increase power to the emitters. Don't give it time to adapt. The radiation intensified. On their screens, they could see the Leviathan's surface beginning to darken in spots, the crimson glow fading from those areas. We're damaging it, Sandra said, hardly believing what she was seeing. For the first time, we're actually hurting it. The celebration was short-lived. The Leviathan suddenly pulsed with bright light and a wave of energy expanded from its body. Where the wave touched the asteroids containing the radiation emitters, they simply vanished. It's neutralizing the radiation, Greg reported, his voice tense. It's adapting just like it did with the shield technology. Within minutes, half the emitters were gone, and the radiation levels were dropping. The Leviathan's glow strengthened again, and it resumed its approach toward the USS Valiant. Plan A just failed, Sandra said, her voice steady despite the fear she felt. Time for Plan B. Dr. Fisher had theorized that the Leviathan's central consciousness, the part that controlled its entire massive body, must be located near its core. If they could disrupt that consciousness, perhaps they could disable the creature entirely. Prepare for direct approach, Sandra ordered. Set course for the center of the Leviathan. Greg stared at her. Captain, that's suicide. That's the mission, she replied firmly. Our modified engines produce a frequency that might disrupt its neural network, but we need to get close to its core for the signal to penetrate deep enough. The USS Valiant's engines flared to life, pushing the ship directly toward the massive creature. As they approached, they could see details of its surface. The plates that shifted like muscles, the veins of crimson energy, and now something new. Structures that looked almost like weapons, formed from the technology of the ships it had consumed. It's evolving faster than we predicted, Sandra said. It's becoming a true war machine. The Leviathan sensed their approach and extended dozens of energy tendrils toward the Valiant. The ship dodged and weaved, using every evasive maneuver in the book, but there were too many tendrils to avoid them all. The ship shuddered as a tendril grazed their hull, alarms blaring throughout the vessel. Hull breach on deck 3, Greg reported. Sealing emergency doors. Sandra gripped her chair as the ship rocked again. Distance to target? 20 kilometers and closing, Greg replied. But we won't last much longer under this assault. Sandra opened a channel to Earth. This is Captain Mitchell. Plan A failed. The Leviathan adapted to the radiation. We're proceeding with Plan B, direct approach to disrupt its central consciousness. If we don't make it, it's been an honor serving with you all. She closed the channel and turned to her crew. Divert all power to engines and the disruption signal. We need to get as close as we can before... She didn't finish the sentence. They all knew what would happen. The USS Valiant plunged toward the heart of the Crimson Leviathan, its engines pushing it faster than it was ever designed to go. Around them, the creature's tendrils closed in, reaching for the ship from all directions. Signal at maximum strength, Greg reported. 5 kilometers to the estimated location of its core. Sandra took one last look at her brave crew. For Earth, she said simply. The Valiant reached the dark surface of the Leviathan and broke through, penetrating into the creature's body. Inside was a network of chambers and tunnels, filled with crimson energy and strange machinery that the creature had absorbed and repurposed. In the final seconds before the Leviathan consumed the ship entirely, the Valiant's modified engines reached their peak output, sending a powerful disruption signal directly into the creature's neural network. The last thing Sandra saw was a bright flash of crimson light. Then darkness fell over the USS Valiant and its crew as they became part of the monster they had fought so hard to destroy. The screens in the Earth Defense Coalition headquarters went blank as the USS Valiant disappeared into the body of the Crimson Leviathan. A heavy silence fell over the command center. Admiral Laura Bennett stood motionless, staring at the last image of Captain Sandra Mitchell and her brave crew. They're gone, someone whispered. Then the sensors picked up something new. The Leviathan was changing. Its crimson glow dimmed, then flared brightly, then dimmed again. The massive creature's movement became erratic, its body twisting in space, as if in pain. What's happening? Laura asked, her voice tight with hope and fear. Dr. Alan Fisher rushed to the sensor readings. The Valiant's disruption signal is affecting it. It's disrupting the neural network that controls the creature's body. The Leviathan writhed in space, its tendrils lashing out randomly. Some sections of its massive body went dark, while others pulsed with intensified crimson energy. For over an hour they watched as the monster that had destroyed 12 worlds fought an internal battle against the disruption caused by the Valiant's final act. Then slowly the creature's movements became less violent. Its glow stabilized at a lower intensity than before, and most importantly, it changed course. Instead of resuming its path toward Earth, the Leviathan began to drift away, moving toward empty space beyond the edge of explored territory. It's retreating, Laura said, hardly daring to believe it. They did it. The Valiant stopped it. Not stopped, Alan corrected her. Wounded it. For the first time in its million-year existence, the Leviathan has been hurt badly enough to retreat. Engineer Kevin Foster pointed to new readings coming in. It's not just retreating. Look at these energy patterns. Parts of its internal systems are shutting down. The Valiant's signal didn't just disrupt it temporarily. It rewrote some of the creature's basic programming. The news spread quickly throughout Earth and the Coalition worlds. The Crimson Leviathan, the unstoppable monster that had consumed planets and destroyed fleets, had been driven away. The sacrifice of the USS Valiant and its crew had saved billions of lives. But Laura wasn't ready to celebrate yet. "Keep tracking it," she ordered. "I want to know where it goes and what it does next." The next 3 months were a time of rebuilding and preparation. Under Dr. Fisher's guidance, the Coalition developed a new understanding of the ancient weapon. They discovered that the Leviathan hadn't been designed to destroy indiscriminately. It had been programmed to recognize and target specific energy signatures associated with its creator's enemies. By unfortunate coincidence, Alan explained to the Coalition Council, our fusion technology produces energy patterns remarkably similar to those ancient targets. That's why it attacked us. Kevin Foster led a massive effort to modify all human and allied technology to generate energy signatures that would register as friendly to the Leviathan's ancient programming. It was a huge undertaking, requiring the retrofitting of every colony, ship, and station. "If it comes back," Kevin told Laura, "we want it to see us as allies, not enemies." Meanwhile, Captain Paul Nelson led a long-range tracking mission aboard the USS Horizon. His team observed the Leviathan from a safe distance as it drifted through empty space, its crimson form pulsing with less intensity than before. "It's healing," reported Science Officer Rebecca Grant after studying their scans. "But it's also changing. The disruption caused by the Valiant seems to have altered its programming somehow." Paul watched the creature on his screen. It was still massive, still powerful beyond imagination, but it moved differently now. Less predatory, more purposeful. "Keep watching," he ordered. "I want to know what it's doing out there." 3 months after the battle at Epsilon Eridani, as the Coalition prepared for the creature's possible return, the USS Horizon made a startling discovery. The Leviathan had encountered a fleet of ships from an unknown species, the same species that had been raiding outlying human colonies for years. These raiders, who had never responded to attempts at communication, attacked the wounded Leviathan, with dozens of ships. From a safe distance, Paul and his crew watched as the monster responded. But instead of the mindless consumption it had shown before, its actions now seemed calculated, precise. It destroyed the attacking ships with frightening efficiency, extending its energy tendrils to crush or absorb the vessels. But when an enemy ship tried to escape, the Leviathan didn't pursue it. It only attacked those that fired upon it. "It's defending itself," Rebecca said, "but not hunting. This is new behavior." More surprising was what happened next. After defeating the raiders, the Leviathan changed course again, positioning itself between human space and the territory of the hostile species. "It's guarding us?" Paul said in disbelief. Rebecca studied the readings. The Valiant's disruption signal didn't just hurt it. It rewrote part of its basic programming. Remember, it was originally designed to protect its creators. The signal must have confused it enough to identify us as those creators. Paul sent an urgent message to Earth. "It's protecting us." The Valiant didn't just hurt it, it rewrote part of its programming. It now recognizes us as its creators. When Admiral Bennett received this news, she called an emergency meeting of the Coalition Council. The representatives of all species gathered to hear the incredible update. "The Crimson Leviathan has positioned itself as a guardian between our space and an aggressive species that has been raiding our colonies for years," Laura told them. "Our efforts to modify our energy signatures to appear as friendly to its programming seem to have reinforced this new behavior." "So the monster that nearly destroyed us is now protecting us?" a Rigelian representative asked. "It appears so," Laura confirmed. "Captain Nelson's observations show it only attacks ships that fire upon it first. It's no longer consuming planets or hunting our technology." Dr. Fisher addressed the council next. The creature was originally designed as a protector, not just a destroyer. The Valiant's disruption signal, combined with our modified energy signatures, seems to have restored some of that original programming. As the Council debated what this meant for the future, urgent news arrived from the outer colonies. Long-range sensors had detected massive fleet movements from multiple unknown species, all heading toward Coalition space. It seemed the galaxy was far more dangerous and crowded than they had ever realized. "We may need the Leviathan's protection after all," Laura said quietly. In the months that followed, the Crimson Leviathan remained at the edge of Coalition space, a silent guardian against the unknown threats beyond. Coalition scientists continued to study it from a safe distance, learning more about its capabilities and its origins. Engineer Kevin developed new technologies based on what they learned, including improved shields and more efficient energy systems. "We're learning from it," he told Laura, "just as it learned from us." Captain Paul Nelson became the official Leviathan liaison, leading a small fleet that maintained a safe distance from the creature while observing its behavior and occasionally testing its responses to different signals. "It's still evolving," he reported after 6 months of observation. "But now it's evolving with us, not against us." The galaxy's most terrifying war monster had become humanity's most powerful guardian. The creature that had once been their greatest nightmare was now their greatest hope for survival in a universe far more dangerous than they had ever imagined. And somewhere within the massive entity, the consciousness of Captain Sandra Mitchell and her crew lived on. Their sacrifice, transformed into something no one could have predicted, a new beginning for both humanity and the Crimson Leviathan.